This video is brought to you by the patrons over at Dandyland and viewers like you. Wait, modern brands who create amazing vintage styles? I'm listening. Honeydew, you're my little honeydew. What's up, folks? My name's Dandy Wellington. I do videos on jazz, style, and culture. If you're new here, please subscribe. Now, if you're into vintage style or vintage style aesthetic, you know there are three surefire ways to achieve your look. There's true vintage, which is the holy grail of style aesthetics. It'll have you searching high and low, near and far, combing the internet for that goody vintage goodness. Hashtag. Or you can shop classic heritage brands that take from the past and build towards the future. Yes, those designs are so steeped in what was always so good about fashion and style that you can seamlessly put them into a vintage style wardrobe and they'll always look good. Brands like Ralph Lauren, J. Press, Brooks Brothers, all the brands that I talked about in my video here. Or reproduction or repro, curated by lovers of the aesthetic and historians of fashion who, in the best cases, work with factories and mills to recreate the real thing sustainably. Now, when it comes to reproduction in women's wear, let's face it, they kind of have it easy, with brands like House of Foxy, Unique Vintage, Freddie of Pinewood, all recreating those styles from the early 20th century, and shoe brands like Chelsea Crew and American Duchess that make that icing on the cake oh so sweet. However, for menswear and classic style aesthetics, there are only a few brands that use the early 20th century and vintage styles as the blueprint for their brand aesthetic. Now, if we set aside accessories brands like Fine and Dandy Shop and hat brands like Monteveus, Blakesby Hats, and Cordova Caps, we're gonna be looking at just a few brands that deal with the clothing and full wardrobe style for classic menswear. And interestingly enough, they're all British brands. They are Thomas Farthing, Darcy Clothing, and Simon James Cathcart. In this video, I'm gonna break down these three brands, a little bit of the history, and show you some styles. Then, I'm gonna go in depth with one of them because, folks, I gotta tell you, I've got a brand new suit. Ooh, got a brand new suit. Got a brand new tie, got a brand new twinkle in my eye. Do you know the reason why? Name that tune. Let's start with Darcy Clothing. Darcy Clothing, the oldest of the bunch, started in 2004, was originally called the Vintage Shirt Company and was originally created to supply accurate replicas of men's period shirts and collars for use in plays and costume dramas. Now they offer a wide range of vintage style items for men and women. Now, though I haven't bought anything from Darcy Clothing yet, it's clear that they could be called the general store of vintage. Their store is packed full of basics and essentials that should appear in any menswear and classic dress wardrobe. And some of my friends like Tom Carradine wear Darcy Clothing all the time. And I mean, he looks great, and that's good enough for me. Now, if Darcy Clothing has its roots in historical costuming, then Thomas Farthing is more of a heritage brand. Started in 2012, Thomas Farthing approaches classic dress and menswear through a wholly British perspective. Folks, I've been shopping at Thomas Farthing for a while now, and it's never failed me. The designs, the story, the attention to detail, all of it is so perfect. They're so good at what they do, they've even had brands like Ralph Lauren go to their store for inspiration. They're inspiring the big brands. From wide-cut trousers to Pharrell sweaters to some of the best hat game in the business, Thomas Farthing is a truly singular brand, and I couldn't recommend them more. Then there's Simon James Cathcart. Started in 2013, they quickly rose to prominence in the menswear and vintage communities due to their ability to recreate some of the most sought-after styles in menswear and classic dress. I mean, they know what they're doing. It's nuts. Each of these brands has a different way of approaching a vintage classic style aesthetic. And when you step into each brand, it feels like you're in their own little world. But when you try to incorporate them into your own wardrobe, it works seamlessly because you have basics and signature items, essentials and standouts, all coming together within all of these various brands, but all with the same maybe 40 years, 50 years in mind. Yes, menswear style changes a little bit throughout that time, but when you think of your wardrobe cohesively and apply the 3 to 5 rule that I talked about in this video, then everything works out. These brands work seamlessly together. If you've ever interacted with a fast fashion brand, you know that the quality is horrible. I mean, most of the clothes are made by those two sisters, Polly and Esther. But with these brands, with Simon James Cathcart, Thomas Farthing, and Darcy Clothing, you know you're dealing with quality materials, natural fibers, and exquisite construction. All these things come together to make garments that will live in your wardrobe forever. Finally, retailers like this are important because of how they engage with the communities they're a part of. The vintage community is vast and diverse and, frankly, amazing. Clearly, I love the vintage community. We're nerds. We're nerds about design, we're nerds about old things, and we're nerds about how things fit and how things are constructed. So, when dealing with brands like this that care about the community, that care about history, and that want to engage with some of the best of classic dress, you can't go wrong. Oh, if you're getting value out of this video, please subscribe, like the video, and hit the bell so you can get notifications. It lets YouTube know that this video is valuable to you, and it lets me know that I should do more videos like this. Thanks so much. Remember how I mentioned that new suit? That new suit? So recently I dropped by the Simon James Cathcart online store to see what they had going on. I'd recently gotten a pair of trousers from them that were fantastic. Also a polo that couldn't be more amazing. I wore it literally all summer. So I wanted to see what else they had, and oh my goodness. Check it out. Meet the King Cole suit from Simon James Cathcart. Oh, please. Let's go. Let's go. This suit looks incredible. From the belt back to the box pleat to all the little details, all the bells and whistles, that notch lapel, ooh, and that herringbone, so plush, so hardy, so durable, ooh, and so warm, because you know I'm Jamaican. I don't like that cold, baby. I don't like it. Looking at this suit, it was clear that it could be a staple piece in my wardrobe. I mean, I was excited. So I bought it. And now think about it. I could have bought the rust-colored one because, you know, that's basically brown, you know, brown with a little bit of red in it, no big deal. Or I could have bought the gray. You know, gray is an essential color. You can pretty much mix and match gray with anything. But like a crazy person, I got the teal blue because how could I say no? It's teal blue. So the suit recently arrived. And so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take you through it bit by bit. We're gonna go over the details. I'm gonna give you my thoughts, and then I'm gonna try it on and see what needs tailoring and what I can do to style it up. If you like videos like this and wanna step up your personal style, check out the Dandy class. With classes in pattern mixing, accessorizing, and building a sustainable and cohesive wardrobe, the Dandy class is here to help you on the journey towards your ideal personal style. Check out the link in the description below and enroll today. I'll see you in class. Let's break down this suit. So here we have it. The King Cole suit from Simon James Cathcart. This is a Shetland wool herringbone 3-piece +4 suit. Man, it really is much more muted than I thought it was going to be, which is great because it can seamlessly integrate with other things in my wardrobe even more than I expected. I know that I have a very bright wardrobe, and so certain things that may be too bright for other people are definitely not bright for me. But looking at this, in the fabric you see yellows, some greens, some royal blues. There's a lot of different things happening in this fabric. Looking at this fabric, there's a lot that I can do with my own wardrobe. I know that I can incorporate this into my wardrobe really seamlessly. Now let's talk about some of the design elements. This being a herringbone tweed, a Shetland wool herringbone tweed suit. Typically it would be a country suit, something that people would wear in the country, outdoors, a little bit more rural. And of course, because it's a +4 suit, +4s fall into sportswear. So what you're gonna get is elements that you wouldn't see in a city suit. So you've got these patch pockets, 3 patch pockets all in here. And then of course, box pleats on these patch pockets, which allow for easy movement. If you were to throw a bunch of things in these pockets, of course, that box pleat would sort of open them up and add a little bit more space. So when it comes to a pocket square, yes, you could add something that's silk and that would be totally fine. Or you could put a heftier cotton pocket square in there. Because you have that box pleat, it allows to open things up. Also, the fact that this box pleat is slanted is really a wonderful detail. That means that when it's open, you're gonna get this nice slant detail, but then when you button it closed, that detail levels out. Little details like this are some of the amazing things that you see in vintage styles, and they carry forward into some of today's fashions. The 1930s in conventional menswear circles is sort of the golden age of classic menswear. And so you'll have situations like this where you have this notch lapel that it could exist almost in any time. Yes, we have now jackets that are a little bit thinner or a little bit wider when it comes to the lapel, but with this, it really is a medium-sized lapel, and this notch is something that isn't too dramatic. And especially since this is a more of a country suit, you're not gonna have super dramatic details. With the tailoring, a lot of it is going to be sort of utilitarian. Things that would go into a garment where if you were walking around the country going on hikes, maybe, you know, shooting some pheasant or whatever, even fishing, these details are going to allow you to be more comfortable in those settings. Another thing that's really interesting about the jacket is you see this curve. There's a nice curve that's happening coming down from the neck into the lapel. It's a really, really interesting shape that, depending on how you look at it, depending on how you style it, it can seem maybe more exaggerated or less. It's just a nice way of sort of creating this shape. And that shape is mirrored in the waistcoat. The bottom of this waistcoat has a sort of curve. It's going down, it curves out and into the buttons and then curves down to a point. I also love the lining that's happening in the waistcoat. It's different than the lining that's happening within the jacket itself. This is a fully lined jacket, but what you have is this striped lining that can only be seen inside of the actual sleeve when it comes to the jacket. So these little touches, these little design touches are really, really amazing and allow for a piece like this to really be brought together. These cohesive decisions, design decisions. Now we have to talk about the details on the back of the jacket. Now, we have this box pleat here, beautiful box pleat on the jacket. It's got these two pleats that are going into the belt back, which I really, really like. Also, something to note that the herringbone, the sort of grain of the herringbone, the pattern is consistent throughout. So these are all different pieces, you know. The belt is a separate piece. This placket right here down for the seat, that's a separate piece. And of course, all of this that's going on with this box pleat for the back, that's all a separate piece. But yet the herringbone pattern continues seamlessly, which is just so beautiful. We'll see how it fits because, you know, this is a really, really hard detail to pull off. There's a lot of different variables to factor in, especially when it's on somebody, from the wideness of their shoulders to the length of their torso. This doesn't always work, you know? The lucky thing though is aspects of this can be fixed if you have a tailor. This is why having a tailor is so important, because when you're looking at a garment like this, something that you're getting off the rack, I mean, think about it. This is from England. I have not worn this. I've not even put it on. I didn't go to the store and try it on. So when you have a situation like this, where you have an item that you've never tried on, having a tailor is super crucial. If you're not doing alterations yourself, you need a tailor, you need a professional to help you make alterations so that it can fit your body perfectly. Now let's look at the third piece of this garment, which are the +4s. Now, +4s are called that based on the amount of inches of extra fabric that hang below the knee when they're worn. So these being +4s, there should be 4 inches of extra fabric hanging below the knee. Now there are also +2s, +6s, and of course +8s. I love +6s and +8s because I just love that sort of voluminous balloon-like look of the fabric sort of ballooning down below the knee, but also out. So you want an item that has a bit of structure, and with this Shetland wool, with this herringbone, I'm really excited to see how it sort of sits below but also out from my leg. I'm really excited about this. It's so good. So looking at these +4s, I can already tell that we've got beautiful, beautiful width. It's a sporting garment, so you want to make sure that there's a lot of room, there's a lot of comfort when it comes to the actual garment. Down here towards the bottom, the closure is this nice, beautiful silver buckle, an adjuster that, you know, if you want it tighter towards your leg or whatnot. And of course, on the inside here, we have a bunch of pleats so that the item gets tapered down from this wider shape. It gets tapered down and it'll help the garment to sort of bubble over and create that +4 look. Also, another detail, of course, we've got pleats here, but also we've got this fantastic little coin pocket. One back pocket here, but also on the inside, we've got a little bit of a fish back, which is super great. That nice fish back there for comfort. And on the inside, seriously beautiful and always magical to have suspender buttons, because there's no belt loops, so you've got to have suspender buttons. So this is great. Let's put it on. So I figured I would try on each piece one after the other so that you could get a sense of how the whole thing builds up together. And I'm a 34 waist, and I mean, this fits perfectly. This is exactly what I would want. It's pretty great. These pockets are super, super deep. Like, I mean, I could fit pretty much anything in these pockets, which is incredible. So I already feel very, very comfortable. And the thing that I'm always stressed out about is the width of the pant leg, especially when it comes to +4s. And like, look at this thing. Like, it's wide. This is nice and wide. I mean, this is so wide. It's beautiful. There's enough of a sort of drape, you know, enough of an overflow when it comes to over the socks, and it's great. So let's try on this waistcoat. Now this is interesting. Of course, because this is not a made-to-measure suit, they're going to be cutting this on the taller side for people who have a longer torso and maybe longer legs, but in general a taller person. I'm not really that tall of a person. My torso is not that long, and also I like to wear my trousers much higher, you know, to sort of lengthen my legs. This is the great thing about a suit. You can do different things. You can make different adjustments to how the thing is cut to make yourself look different ways. It's incredible. In an ideal world, I would get my tailor to bring this up just a little bit so that this lays much nicer. So when I put my hands in my pockets, it doesn't get all rumpled up, as opposed to when it's down here and I put my hands in my pockets, it's always peeking out, and you can see the stress here because it's just too low on my hips. So bringing this up so that this button, which is the last button that I'm gonna button, would be in line with the waistband that's under it. That's definitely something that I will do when it comes to going to the tailor, so that I can make sure that all of this sits the way I want it to sit. There's a few adjustments that I might make to the waistcoat, but all in all, I mean, it fits pretty great because essentially it's going to be under a jacket. So now let's try the jacket. All right, here it is. It feels great. It feels really great, but look at that. And now here's the moment of truth. This box pleat, let's see how it looks. So looking at the jacket, what's really interesting is that it honestly fits great. Like, the shoulders are really good. The length of the jacket works proportional to the rest of the garment. The button stance is perfect. All those things are great. The thing that is weird is, of course, the defining feature, the action back that's happening here, this box pleat. Now, this is something that you're gonna have to deal with every brand. I deal with it with every brand. I'm not necessarily the tallest person, and of course, I got that Jamaican back there. You know how it is. So when I put on a garment, the average fit model for many menswear brands is about 6 foot, and maybe he's 125, 130 pounds. He's a pretty thin person. That's how most menswear brands fit their items. What you would typically do in this situation is you would take it to a tailor and get them to adjust that thing. Now you might be thinking, what if I went up a size? Well, if I went up a size, the situation would probably be a little bit better with the action back with this box pleat, but everything else would be a size bigger. So think about it. My sleeves would be longer, my shoulders would be bigger, the length of the jacket would be bigger. I'd have to get the entire thing tailored and fixed to meet what's going on in the back. That's a lot more money. Getting trousers tailored is usually pretty affordable because there's only so much you need to do. But when it comes to a jacket, there's so many little pieces to a jacket. There's so many elements of it, and how those things work together really is important and ends up being a lot of work. So thinking about this jacket and how to make it fit better, how to make, for instance, this action back work better, you know, the thing that I would really need to do is go to a tailor and probably get them to adjust this fabric in a way so that inside of the box pleat, there's a bit more fabric potentially. So that as I move my arms, that box pleat engages, but when I'm at rest, when I'm not moving my arms, there's enough fabric so that it can fold in on itself and rest cleanly and neatly down the center of my back. So that's also an interesting thing with this jacket, but also with many other jackets that are constructed just like this for my body. So whenever you purchase anything from any retailer, you have to understand what their fit is, what their fit model is, what their basis is, and how that will work in relation to your body. And the reason why having a tailor is so important is so that those adjustments can be made so that when you put it on, you feel like $1,000,000 and you look like $1,000,000. Does this mean that I'm not gonna wear the jacket? No, I'm gonna wear it all the time because it's awesome. Me purchasing this was because I knew I would like it and I was excited to see how it would work. But also this is why having a tailor is important. So now that I know how it fits, I think it's time to create a few looks. Let's see how it works. In the morning when the sun will rise, there's one thing keeps me satisfied. Don't have to tell the reason why. It's pie and coffee and you. There's a magic morsel on my plate I pine for after every date. That treat that makes heart syncopate. It's a pie, coffee, and you. Why do I idolize this trio? Yes, it's that dish that's tre-delish. From Tennessee to Rio, whether pumpkin, peach, or benefit, your kisses are the sweetest treat. Oh, babe, you're what I need. That pie, coffee, and you. Well, there's a little bit of insight into how I assess and style new items in my wardrobe. Which outfit was your favorite? Let me know in the comments below. Also, I want to give a big shout out to my patrons. What's up, patrons? Thanks so much for all your support. You know I appreciate it. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that bell so you can get notifications. My name's Dandy Wellington, and I'll see you soon. Why do I idolize this trio? Yes, it's that dish that's tre-delish. From Tennessee to Rio.